Chapter 35-28. Using Tao Patterns, Undead Army Breaks Through. The great Tao realm Heiyu emitted a cold aura, with a layer of gray flames floating on its mirror-like scales. On its brow, a special rune was glowing. Lin Moyu noticed that Heiyu's rune was very similar to his own Tai-In rune, but more complex. The heaven-questioning Tao monarch said softly,
"It really is the Tai-In rune. He truly is the Tai-In ancestor dragon."
Lin Moyu said,
"Whether he is the Tai-In ancestor dragon or not, now he is just the netherworld black dragon, my subordinate. And I am not necessarily the Lord of Hell. Even if I really am the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell, after reincarnation, I won't become a second Lord of Hell."
The heaven-questioning Tao monarch understood Lin Moyu's words and couldn't help praising.
"Brother Lin's ambitions are grand, beyond what ordinary people can achieve. This big brother can only wish you success in achieving your desires."
Lin Moyu said,
"It will definitely happen."
As the purple thunder Great Tao returned and the crimson blood Great Tao was devoured, the surrounding world mist rapidly spread over, making the space smaller and smaller. The heaven-questioning Tao monarch said softly,
"Brother Lin should go back now, otherwise you might not find the way back. This origin ancestor stone is what I promised Brother Lin, please keep it safe. It will be of great use after entering the origin ancestor land. Also, the great Tao crystals and divine rune army treasury I promised Brother Lin, when the ancient battlefield opens next time, or when Brother Lin reaches the 9th level of Tao Venerable Realm, you can directly enter the ancient battlefield to retrieve them."
Lin Moyu accepted the origin ancestor stone.
"Brother Heaven Questioning, we'll meet again if fate allows. I wish you success in becoming a Tao Lord."
The heaven-questioning Tao monarch chuckled.
"Thank you for your kind words, brother."
Lin Moyu took out the divine rune army seal and activated it. The heaven-questioning Tao monarch simultaneously pointed at the seal, causing it to explode and transform into light enveloping Lin Moyu, carrying him into the world mist and disappearing. After Lin Moyu left, the heaven-questioning Tao monarch gazed at this space with complex emotions, seeming to have a sense of attachment. He had been in contact with this space for millions of years, and for a moment he felt somewhat reluctant to part with it. After a long sigh, the heaven-questioning Tao monarch's eyes became sharp, his whole being surging with fighting spirit and battle intent.
"Tao Lord, I will definitely become one."
As his words fell, he also plunged into the mist and disappeared. Above the eastern continent, 100,000 meters in the sky, accompanied by spatial distortion, Lin Moyu stepped out. This journey had been extremely rewarding for him. Not only did he receive the Great Tao reward, allowing him to advance to the 6th level of Tao Venerable Realm, but it also caused his skeleton hell to advance, reaching the peak of the 9th level of Tao Venerable Realm. The Hell Fiends had almost touched the threshold of the pseudo-Great Tao realm, and as for the Netherworld Black Dragon, with a thought, the skeleton hell appeared before him. A soul-striking dragon roar sounded from within the skeleton hell. Heiyu had indeed entered the Great Tao realm, emitting a terrifying aura. However, precisely because of this, Lin Moyu had to be more careful and couldn't let Heiyu run wild on the origin continent. If he accidentally severely damaged the origin continent, the punishment from heaven and earth would not be pleasant to bear. A Great Tao realm being would be driven out, but he didn't know what would happen to himself. As he advanced to the 6th level of Tao Venerable Realm, his undead army also greatly improved accordingly. The skeleton generals reached the peak of the 6th level of Tao Venerable Realm, and so did the Dragon Cavalry Legion. Strangely, the combat power of the skeleton generals, Dragon Cavalry, and Legion commanders was at the same level with no difference in strength. These three used to always have differences. The skeleton generals were the weakest of the three, the Dragon Cavalry slightly stronger, and the Legion commanders even stronger. Moreover, these three would all be one level higher than himself. And according to past experience, after he advanced to the 6th level of Tao Venerable Realm, the skeleton generals should be at the early stage of the 7th level of Tao Venerable Realm, while the Dragon Cavalry and Legion commanders should also be at the 7th level but slightly stronger. Then there was the Skeleton King, which was the strongest type, possibly reaching the peak of the 7th level of Tao Venerable Realm. But now, except for the Skeleton King barely reaching the 7th level of Dao Venerable Realm, the Skeleton Generals, Legion Commanders, and Dragon Cavalry were all still at the 6th level of Dao Venerable Realm. Lin Moyu pondered the reason, which should be that the gap between the 7th and 6th levels of Dao Venerable Realm was too large, making it impossible for them to cross. As such, the advantage of his undead army was slowly diminishing. This was not what Lin Moyu wanted. Although the Skeleton Hell was strong, it had limitations and was far less flexible than the undead army.
I now have 108 Dao patterns, of which 70 have been used, leaving 38 available. Perhaps enough Dao patterns can push the undead army up.
Counting his 5 major summoning techniques: Summon Skeleton King, Summon Skeleton General, Summon Dragon Cavalry Legion, Resurrect the Dead, and Summon Elemental Lich, each only had 4 Dao patterns. It's not few, but it's not many either. After all, some Dao Venerables might only have 10 to 20 Dao patterns even at the 9th level of Dao Venerable Realm. Allocating 4 Dao patterns to each of the 5 summoning techniques had already taken up 20, exceeding the total number of Dao patterns of many Dao Venerables. These Dao patterns, one only realizes their scarcity when using them. Dao patterns need to be balanced. The 5 summoning techniques can be seen as one entity. Either all of them don't use Dao patterns, or if they are to be used, they must be used together, and in pairs to maintain yin-yang balance and maximize the effect. Lin Moyu thought for a moment.
Then let's double it.
With a thought, 20 runes flew out from his soul, divided into 5 groups of 4 each, falling into the 5 technique stars respectively. The 5 technique stars simultaneously burst with brilliant light, forming a huge ball of light, their aura continuously rising. Then, all 108 Dao patterns began to vibrate collectively, resonating with each other, further enhancing their power. Sounds of advancement continuously came from the technique stars. The Legion Commanders were the first to complete their advancement, rapidly breaking through the barrier between the 6th and 7th levels of Dao Venerable Realm, entering the 7th level and continuing to rise, reaching the middle stage of the 7th level of Dao Venerable Realm. Next were the Dragon Cavalry, closely following the Legion Commanders, stepping into the threshold of the 7th level of Dao Venerable Realm. However, they couldn't advance further, staying at the early stage of the 7th level of Dao Venerable Realm. Finally, it was the Skeleton Generals. Under Lin Moyu's gaze, the Skeleton Generals finally also stepped onto the 7th level of Dao Venerable Realm, becoming 7th level ancestors. Imagine the scene if hundreds of billions of 7th level ancestors were to charge out. How many 7th level ancestors could all the forces in the origin continent combined have? If Lin Moyu was willing, he could easily sweep through all forces. If coupled with the Skeleton Hell and the now Great Dao Realm Heiyu, even beings like the 3 ancestors and the Beast Emperor would have to give way to him on the origin continent. At this moment, Lin Moyu felt that in the current origin continent, he was already an invincible existence. His combat power was invincible, but his realm was still not enough, still only at the 6th level of Dao Venerable Realm. He also knew that he should cultivate next to raise his realm.
The gap between the Skeleton Generals and Dragon Cavalry has narrowed to almost nothing. Moreover, the entire undead army no longer has realm differences. Even the Skeleton King is only at the peak of the 7th level. Everyone is within the same realm. Looking at it this way, the future combat power of the undead army will tend towards balance. The strongest will still be the Skeleton King, but the others won't be weak either. It seems this is also right. The Legion commanders are like generals. The Skeleton King is the sharpest blade under the general's command, and the army is managed by the general. The general doesn't necessarily have to be the strongest, but must be the smartest person.
Since entering the Dao Venerable Realm, he had already noticed that the gap between the undead was slowly narrowing. However, this was also the natural evolution of the technique. Even if he didn't want it to be so, it would be hard to find a good way to change it, so he could only let nature take its course.
The Dao patterns have been used up, so let's use the remaining ones as well, keeping a few in reserve.
With a thought, another 14 Dao patterns flew out. Chapter 35-29. I know you can hear me. Come out. The number of Tao patterns for the 6 great Tao true bodies increased from 2 to 4. The number of Tao patterns for the fortune deduction rune also increased to 4. Out of 108 Tao patterns, 104 were used, leaving 4 in reserve. With the support of Tao patterns, all techniques were enhanced to varying degrees, and combat power increased another notch. But Lin Moyu wasn't very clear on exactly how much it had increased. When only using Great Tao True Bodies, Lin Moyu felt he could crush all 7th-level ancestors. Suddenly, a powerful aura flew over from afar, arriving before him in an instant. Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
3 ancestors, why have you come?
The 3 ancestors looked Lin Moyu over, then suddenly asked,
You went to the outer sky, Great Tao?
Lin Moyu frankly admitted,
I suppose so.
The convergence of 2 realms, although strictly speaking not considered the outer sky Great Tao, was far from the origin continent, so he might as well say he had been there. The 3 ancestors asked curiously,
How did you go?
Lin Moyu said,
The heaven-questioning Tao monarch took me. You should know about the ancient battle secret treasury in the northern continent, right? That was left by the heaven-questioning Tao monarch.
The 3 ancestors fell silent. After a moment, he murmured,
It seems Tao friend heaven-questioning is also unwilling to accept his fate, leaving behind a backup plan to seek opportunities. But this backup plan seems to have exceeded Tao friend heaven-questioning's abilities. Who was guiding him from behind the scenes?
Lin Moyu asked.
What do you mean by that? Please explain clearly, 3 ancestors.
The 3 ancestors said in a low voice,
When the origin catastrophe ended years ago, the origin continent was sealed off by the great Tao. We old fellows spent enormous effort and paid a great price to enter the origin continent. Do you think the heaven-questioning Tao monarch has the ability to set up the ancient battle secret treasury in the northern continent?
Lin Moyu thought carefully and realized it indeed wasn't possible. Although the heaven-questioning Tao monarch was strong, he couldn't achieve this. But the heaven-questioning Tao monarch knew Tao lords. Would a Tao lord have this ability? The 3 ancestors chuckled.
You've thought of the problem, right? Not to mention the heaven-questioning Tao monarch, even a Tao lord might not be able to do it. Moreover, a Tao lord wouldn't come to do this. Tao lords have their own restrictions and concerns. They think more and act more cautiously than we do.
Lin Moyu didn't speak. If the heaven-questioning Tao monarch couldn't do it, and even a Tao lord couldn't do it, then who set up the ancient battle secret treasury? The heaven-questioning Tao monarch hadn't mentioned this topic. Now that the 3 ancestors brought it up, Lin Moyu realized there must be someone else behind the heaven-questioning Tao monarch. Who could that person be? Another unknown secret. Lin Moyu instinctively felt the green-robed old man wouldn't do this. It didn't match his usual style. This kind of arrangement seemed to be intended to help the heaven-questioning Tao monarch. Perhaps only the heaven-questioning Tao monarch himself knew. The 3 ancestors said,
Don't waste your brain thinking about it. I was just saying it casually. You just need to have heard it. There are many secrets in the outer sky Great Tao. It also depends on what kind of Tao Lord it is. The differences between Tao Lords and Tao Lords are also very large.
In the 3 ancestors' words, there wasn't particular respect for Tao Lords. Clearly, some Tao Lords weren't taken seriously by him. Previously at the ancient Lotus Immortal Banquet, when he was chatting with the Beast Emperor, this meaning was already vaguely present. Not just him, the Beast Emperor and the King of the Boundary Sea seemed to be the same. Lin Moyu asked,
Did you come specifically to find me this time, Elder?
The 3 ancestors said,
I've been looking for you for many days. I wanted to tell you, I've clashed with that old fellow Ian Sunday. He already knows that Withering and Flourishing Elder has fled. He might go to the western continent to cause you trouble. You should be careful. This old fellow is not easy to deal with. You'd better be a bit careful.
Lin Moyu nodded slightly.
I understand. Thank you for the warning, 3 ancestors. But this junior is curious. How did he learn of this news?
He had just instantly contacted the Legion commander in the Undead Empire in the Western continent. Currently, Everything seemed peaceful in the Western continent. But since the three ancestors said so, there must be a certain possibility. It's just that not many people knew about this news. How did Ian's son know? The three ancestors said,
We didn't tell him. It was that old fellow Withering and Flourishing who found a way to contact him.
Lin Moyu said helplessly.
It seems Withering and Flourishing Elder doesn't intend to let me off.
The three ancestors smiled.
You destroyed his plans of many years. How could he easily let you off? But you don't need to worry too much. Guess why that old fellow only occupied a corner of the Western continent? All right, this old man has said all he needs to say. I'm leaving.
After saying this, the three ancestors' form disappeared. Only his avatar had come this time. But even for an avatar, the three ancestors wouldn't casually appear. This time he came specifically to talk to Lin Moyu, naturally with a purpose. Lin Moyu wasn't stupid. Of course he could guess. After that incident in the relic from beyond the sky, Ian's son definitely clashed with the three ancestors. Probably not just the three ancestors. The Beast Emperor's side wouldn't let him off either. He had been hiding for many years and must have gained something. At least part of the three ancestors and Beast Emperor's plans would be disrupted. But if they really fought, Ian's son definitely wasn't a match for the three ancestors. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed to hide for so long. So after being exposed this time, under the heavy pressure from the three ancestors and the Beast Emperor, he would surely retreat first. Moreover, with the great changes in heaven and earth approaching, he also needed to find his own territory. Therefore, the territory left behind by Withering and Flourishing Elder would be most suitable. The three ancestors' deduction that he would go to the Western continent wasn't without reason. The three ancestors' true purpose was to use Lin Moyu's hand to deal with Ian's son. Just like dealing with Withering and Flourishing Elder back then, it would be best if Ian's son could also be driven out. Lin Moyu smiled bitterly.
The three ancestors is using me as a tool to kill someone.
But if Ian's son really came to cause trouble for him, he wouldn't be polite either. What the three ancestors said at the end, about why Withering and Flourishing Elder only occupied the Western continent, and only a corner at that, was because Withering and Flourishing Elder's strength wasn't enough. He didn't dare to directly confront the Beast Emperor and the three ancestors. Even if their strengths were close on the origin continent, once the great changes in heaven and earth ended, would the three ancestors and the Beast Emperor let him off? So he didn't dare to directly confront the Beast Emperor and the three ancestors, only occupying a corner, hoping to gain some benefits during the great changes in heaven and earth. Now that this corner belonged to Lin Moyu, he naturally couldn't hand it over. Even though Lin Moyu had deduced that occupying territory wasn't very useful for the great changes in heaven and earth, and wasn't the true method to gain the greatest benefits. But if he were to give up the territory because of this, that would be impossible. With his current abilities, if Ian's son came, Lin Moyu wasn't afraid. But it wasn't realistic for him to always guard the undead empire. He still needed to cultivate and do some other things. He couldn't be as free as Ian's son. Moreover, at his speed, by the time he rushed from the eastern continent to the western continent, it would be too late. Lin Moyu thought for a moment, then took out a dragon scale. With a movement of his soul power, he injected it into the dragon scale. The dragon scale quickly burst with brilliant light. Several seconds later, a series of dragon roars sounded. The dragon scale was fully activated. Lin Moyu said in a low voice,
Antares, I know you can hear me. Come out.
The soul sound transmitted into the dragon scale, but the dragon scale didn't react. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry. He waited patiently. This was the dragon scale Antares had given him. He knew Antares must have heard. Chapter 35:30. What can your brain think of? The dragon scale in his hand continued to glow, but there was still no response. Lin Moyu didn't give up. He kept injecting soul power, but he didn't say a second sentence, just waiting. After waiting for 2 minutes, a sigh finally came from the dragon scale.
Now is not the time yet.
Antares finally spoke. Lin Moyu raised an eyebrow and said softly,
I think now is the time. Where are you? I want to see you.
There was some hesitation in Antares' voice.
I don't want to harm you.
Lin Moyu said.
Stop talking nonsense. Tell me your location.
After another moment of silence, the dragon scale left Lin Moyu's palm and gradually changed shape, becoming a dragon scale disc. Lin Moyu stepped onto it, and the dragon scale disc carried Lin Moyu flying towards the distance. The scenery on the ground rapidly receded from view, and the dragon scale flew faster and faster. City after city passed below, and Lin Moyu saw that almost every city had problems. The Lufin Merchant Association was spread across all continents, present in every major city. But now, the Lufin Merchant Association in several cities had been destroyed.
Is this Yin Shun's doing? He thinks destroying the Lufin Merchant Association can shake the three ancestors' plans? He's thinking too simply.
Lin Moyu didn't believe at all that the three ancestors' years of hard work only amounted to the Lufin Merchant Association. He felt the Lufin Merchant Association was just the three ancestors' surface plan. There must be underground arrangements that the three ancestors never mentioned and very few people knew about. Yin Shun's actions couldn't possibly hurt the three ancestors significantly. Lin Moyu contacted the Human Emperor in his rule world.
Human Emperor, has anything happened in Yuedao City these days?
The Human Emperor said.
A few days ago, someone tried to destroy the Lufin Merchant Association, but they didn't succeed.
Lin Moyu asked.
What kind of people were they?
The Human Emperor shook his head.
There were two in total. I killed one with a formation, and the other, seeing the situation was hopeless, self-destructed. Was any corpse left behind?
Lin Moyu continued to ask. As long as there was a corpse, he could handle it. The Human Emperor said.
After that person died, the body vanished into smoke, leaving nothing behind.
Leaving no trace, Yin Shun was indeed quite sneaky.
But it's good that Yuedao City is fine. Fortunately, I set up the 99 Heavenly Thunder formation. Even if a 9th level Dao Venerable came, they wouldn't be able to do anything.
The dragon scale disc carried Lin Moyu flying towards the northwest of the eastern continent. Countless mountain ranges appeared in view. The mountain ranges stretched endlessly towards the distance. Lin Moyu saw countless soul flames, both large and small. The small ones hadn't yet become spirit beasts, while the large ones were already at the Dao Venerable realm. This was the world of spirit beasts. The existence of the Eastern Spirit Empire was extremely mysterious. Many Dao Venerables knew of its existence but didn't know its exact location. Some people roughly knew the Eastern Spirit Empire was in the northwest part of the Eastern continent and had come searching before, but found nothing. The only thing that could be confirmed was that there were many spirit beasts in the northwest part of the Eastern continent. The dragon scale disc carried him into the mountain ranges, and then a huge formation appeared in view. This formation had no runes or divine symbols. It was a naturally formed formation. Natural formations are the hardest to decipher because they leave almost no traces and are difficult to fathom. With Lin Moyu's attainments in formations, he could roughly see that this natural formation's function was teleportation. After entering the formation, it would teleport you somewhere. No one could say exactly where.
No wonder no one has ever found the location of the Eastern Spirit Empire before. It's because of this formation.
Lin Moyu knew that the vast majority of people wouldn't be able to discover this formation. Once they entered the formation, they would be silently teleported away. Then they wouldn't know themselves, and after searching around and finding nothing, they would leave. In fact, the Eastern Spirit Empire was just beyond the formation, but it required a specific method to teleport over. The dragon scale disc emitted a faint light, resonating with the natural formation. A faint light appeared on the formation, transforming into a doorway. The dragon scale disc carried Lin Moyu into the faint light. Lin Moyu only felt his vision blur, and he had already arrived in a wilderness. The dragon scale disc flew over the wilderness. Lin Moyu's gaze swept across, and his expression shook.
Is this the eternal battlefield?
What he saw and felt was exactly the same as the ancient battlefield. It was at the core area of the eternal battlefield that he had met Antares. Unexpectedly, he saw the eternal battlefield here again. It wasn't a replica, but the real eternal battlefield. Lin Moyu still remembered some of the beings inside from before. The dragon-scale disc flew towards the center of the eternal battlefield. From afar, Lin Moyu saw a huge figure. The mist on Antares had disappeared, revealing his enormous dragon body. He coiled there, much larger than the mountain ranges, occupying a vast area of heaven and earth. Antares lazily opened his eyes, his gaze sweeping over.
Why did you have to come? Now really isn't the time.
Lin Moyu said.
Then when will it be time for me to appear?
Antares said.
I told you, at least wait until you reach the great Tao realm.
Lin Moyu snorted coldly, his attitude not very good, even reproachful.
With heaven and earth isolated now, I can't possibly enter the great Tao realm before the great changes in heaven and earth end. Are you saying I should wait for the great changes in heaven and earth?
Antares exhaled a dragon breath.
That's right, wait until the great changes in heaven and earth end.
Lin Moyu's eyes flashed with light as he spoke bluntly.
Are you also hoping to gain some benefits during the great changes in heaven and earth? The Eastern Spirit Empire is your territory. Do you want to do like the three ancestors and Beast Emperor, using the great changes in heaven and earth to make yourself stronger, more confident? When you talk about killing up to the dragon race, you mean killing them, right? You're not willing to contact me because you're afraid of implicating me, right? What realm are you really at? And what realm are those dragon race members in the outer sky great Tao?
Lin Moyu spoke quickly, his attitude extremely poor, clearly very displeased. Antares hung his head and didn't speak. Lin Moyu continued.
You're not willing to say anything. You don't really treat me as a friend, let alone a brother. In your eyes, am I such a coward afraid of death?
Antares snorted lightly.
You afraid of death? I've never seen anyone less afraid of death than you. It's precisely because you're not afraid of death that I can't tell you more.
Back then, to make his skills and techniques perfect, Lin Moyu had risked death again and again. When it came to not fearing death, who in this world could compare to Lin Moyu? Lin Moyu was not at all polite.
2 heads are better than 1. With just your brain, what good ideas can you come up with? The Eastern Spirit Empire, just this tiny territory, what benefits can you gain? You're really brain dead, stupid to death.
Antares seemed somewhat provoked.
What do you know? You don't understand at all. You're just at the 6th level of Tao Venerable Realm. What's the use of telling you?
Lin Moyu said.
What's wrong with me being at the 6th level of Tao Venerable Realm? What does combat power have to do with realm? Even if I'm only at the Tao Venerable Realm, I still forced Withering and Flourishing Elder away. The Buddhist race still had to compromise with me. Otherworldly celestial beings, black blood boxing saint, I kill them when I say I will. The crimson blood great Tao, I swallowed it when I said I would. Forget about those guys, even you might not be able to beat me.
As he spoke, the skeleton hell suddenly appeared, and a dragon roar pierced into the soul. Antares' dragon scales stood on end. He looked at Lin Moyu as if facing a great enemy, his dragon eyes full of shock. Chapter 35-31. Antares' story. Heiyu coiled in the skeleton hell, a pair of eyes like blazing flames emitting terrifying light, appearing and disappearing in the mist. Dragon roars sounded one after another, extremely sharp, piercing directly into the soul. Antares' dragon scales stood on end, as if facing a great enemy.
Taiyin Ancestor Dragon.
Antares coldly spat out these 4 words, clearly suppressing his emotions. The Tai-Yin Ancestor Dragon and Tai-Yang Ancestor Dragon were 2 sides of Yin and Yang, mortal enemies who had fought countless times over countless years. Later, the Tai-Yin Ancestor Dragon was subdued by the Lord of Hell, becoming the Netherworld Black Dragon. Then the Tai-Yang Ancestor Dragon perished in an accident, with no knowing when it might be revived. The Tai-Yin Ancestor Dragon was also severely injured during the origin catastrophe when Hell shattered, and was finally devoured by the skeleton hell, now becoming Heiyu. Lin Moyu put away the skeleton hell.
Now it's no longer the Taiyin ancestor dragon. It's just my subordinate, formerly the Netherworld Black Dragon, now I call it Hiyu.
Antares calmed himself down.
I didn't expect that in just these few years, you've already reached this level.
Lin Moyu said impatiently.
I've found that your brain really doesn't work well. What exactly are you planning, hiding here alone? Don't you know what's happening outside? When I went to the Buddhist race last time, didn't you see those things? If you had stayed a bit longer, you wouldn't be so clueless about everything. What are you hiding from? Are you afraid of those dragon race members from the outer sky Great Tao?
Antares suddenly roared angrily.
What do you know?
A mouthful of dragon breath spewed out, instantly turning the surrounding land into a sea of fire. However, Antares hadn't lost his reason. At least the place where Lin Moyu stood was unharmed. Lin Moyu was still impatient.
Don't say such things. If you have something to say, say it. If you think I don't understand, then tell me everything, and we'll discuss it together. No matter how many thousands or tens of thousands of years you're given, you alone won't be able to think of anything. I don't know why you were in the small world. If you don't tell me, I can only guess. But I'm telling you, if you want to gain benefits from the great changes in heaven and earth, just relying on this territory is useless.
Under Lin Moyu's barrage of words, Antares finally quieted down. His head drooped again, and his scales were no longer standing on end, starting to relax.
Fine. Since you want to know so badly, I'll tell you. But think it through. Once you know, there's no chance to back out.
Antares seemed to be warning Lin Moyu, giving him one last chance. Lin Moyu snorted coldly.
Do you know how I've lived all these years? I've experienced life and death so many times. Just say it. We'll see if I dare to listen.
Antares said.
All right, then I'll start from the beginning. Listen carefully.
Antares, in a fierce tone, recounted his story. From why he was in the small world to why he came to the origin continent, he told Lin Moyu the causes and consequences. Antares' story was very long, spanning a very long time. So long that even Antares himself didn't know how many years had passed. The whole thing seemed very complicated, but it wasn't really that complex. The time traced back to before the origin catastrophe. The dragon race was an extremely large group. The dragon race in the outer sky Great Tao and the dragon race in the western continent of the origin continent were actually the same branch. They all had a common ancestor, the Taiyang ancestor dragon, also known as the dragon race ancestor. Most of the dragon race believed that the dragon race ancestor perished in the origin catastrophe. Only a few high-ranking members of the dragon race knew that the dragon race ancestor had actually encountered problems before the origin catastrophe. The origin catastrophe wasn't the real reason for the dragon race ancestor's fall. At that time, the dragon race ancestor traversed the world mist, leaving the world of the origin continent to seek opportunities in other worlds. The dragon race ancestor was a divine dragon with ambitions. At that time, his strength was not weaker than a Tao Lord, but he wasn't satisfied with this and wanted to advance further. In the world mist, the dragon race ancestor found a new world. Strangely, this world had no living beings. However, the dragon race ancestor experienced a life and death trial there, and finally escaped from that world severely injured. After escaping back, the dragon race ancestor called that world desolation. After returning, the dragon race ancestor couldn't recover. He had many problems, but only he knew exactly what they were. The dragon race ancestor seemed to have sensed something. He created the ancestral land of the dragon race, prepared many things in it, and also established many rules. Later, when the origin catastrophe erupted, many dragons died in battle. According to the rules set by the dragon race ancestor, all these fallen divine dragons were buried in the ancestral land of the dragon race. Finally, the dragon race ancestor also died in battle. Before dying, he also buried himself in the ancestral land and sealed it. He left a method to enter the ancestral land on the origin continent, but the dragon race in the outer sky Great Tao could no longer enter the ancestral land. Antares was a dragon who survived the origin catastrophe. In the dragon race, apart from the dragon race ancestor, the highest status was that of the dragon god. At that time, Antares was the eldest son of the dragon god, the crown prince. His status in the dragon race was very high, and his own strength was also powerful enough. When the dragon race ancestor was still around, he had left behind a legacy. Whoever inherited this legacy would have the chance to become the new dragon race ancestor. Logically, this legacy should have been inherited by him. If he wasn't suitable, then it would be passed to other dragons. At that time, his younger brother, the second prince of the dragon race, gathered many elders of the clan and used various reasons to obstruct him from inheriting the dragon race ancestor's legacy. The most ridiculous reason was even saying that in a great battle during the origin catastrophe, he had abandoned his clansmen and fled from the battlefield. They had no evidence, but at that time, the second prince and many elders all said so. The false became true, and Antares couldn't defend himself. Although Antares was powerful, he had no helpers and was at a disadvantage. However, he was still the crown prince, which was his advantage. The dragon race fell into chaos for a time, seemingly about to split. It was at that time that a mysterious person appeared. He directly approached the dragon god at that time, Antares' father. After the two discussed, the mysterious person was to take Antares away. Antares naturally didn't want to go, but facing the mysterious person, he had no power to resist. He was subdued in 2 or 3 moves, even his dragon pearl was taken away, and he was taken away just like that. Antares didn't know where he was taken. When he regained consciousness, he had already arrived at the eternal battlefield in the small world. That mysterious person was the green-robed old man. He explained some things in the eternal battlefield, telling Antares to wait there, but didn't say exactly what he was waiting for. He only said that when all the dragon pearls returned, Antares would regain his freedom. It wasn't until Lin Moyu's appearance, helping Antares find his dragon pearls back, that Antares had the chance to leave the small world and return to the origin continent. Over so many years, Antares' hatred for the dragon race had become indescribable. He knew that at that time, the mysterious person only wanted a sufficiently powerful divine dragon, but the dragon god chose him. Because he was the crown prince, because he was the source of chaos in the dragon race at that time. As long as he left, the dragon race could calm down again. Chapter 35-32. What exactly is it for? After hearing Antares' story, Lin Moyu didn't have any sighs or lamentations. All stories, in his view, were just a matter of choosing benefits. The reason why so many people opposed Antares was most likely related to his temperament. This guy's temper was indeed not too good. Even fellow dragon race members might not be able to tolerate him. Antares half closed his dragon eyes.
I've finished. What are your thoughts?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
No particular thoughts. From your standpoint, the dragon race indeed wronged you. So it's normal for you to want revenge on the dragon race.
Antares said in a low voice.
From my standpoint? Then what if it's not from my standpoint?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
That question doesn't exist. I won't consider issues from other standpoints because I'm your brother. So I'll only think about issues from your standpoint. Therefore, whatever you do, I'll support you.
This answer surprised Antares. Lin Moyu said.
You just asked, why didn't I have any reaction after hearing your story?
Antares said.
Because of the dragon race ancestor. Because of that desolation the dragon race ancestor went to. When the dragon race ancestor returned injured, he also brought back some things. These things came from desolation. The power of desolation is very strange and has a polluting nature. Our dragon race has all been polluted by the power of desolation. Now that you've heard about desolation, you've also been polluted.
Lin Moyu still didn't quite understand.
But until now, the dragon race in the outer sky Great Tao has been doing fine, right?
Antares said.
That's because the power of desolation has been suppressed. It was suppressed by that mysterious person who took me away. You should have met him.
Lin Moyu nodded.
I've met him, and more than once. I have a grudge against him.
Antares' eyes suddenly widened. looking at Lin Moyu in disbelief, his speech becoming stuttered.
You're not joking. Having a grudge against him, that's seeking death.
Lin Moyu said.
So what if I'm seeking death? Are you afraid?
Antares was clearly afraid, but he still spoke tough.
Afraid of what? If there's a chance, I'd like to bite him too.
Lin Moyu chuckled.
Don't worry about desolation. I've been to the ancestral land of the dragon race. If it was going to pollute, it would have polluted long ago. Some strange changes happened in your dragon race's ancestral land. I guess it's related to desolation.
Antares said.
Yes, that person also said that his suppression wouldn't last forever. It would erupt sooner or later. When that time comes, if we can't solve it, then our dragon race will face extinction.
Lin Moyu said.
This matter is too ancient. Let's not talk about it for now. You being taken away by the green-robed old man, the timing doesn't quite match up. How many years did you stay in the small world? The origin catastrophe has already passed for so many years. Moreover, where did the dragon race in the small world come from? I remember you said before that the mixed-blood dragon race in the small world was a branch of the dragon race in the large world. Later, when I went to the large world, although I knew the dragon race existed, I never really saw them. The dragon race claimed to be neutral, not interfering with the world, and wouldn't interfere with the small world. I also asked about this matter to the dragon race in the origin continent, but they didn't know.
Lin Moyu took out the elder token of the dragon race, indicating that he was an external elder of the dragon race. Antares said.
He disrupted time and space. Actually, the time and space of that small world were very chaotic. It was always in a state of extreme chaos. The time you experienced was just a part of the years it experienced. You should have seen some traces from the small world in the large world. After you left, the time and space of that small world became completely chaotic. It first accelerated for a period, quickly passing through millions of years. Then the entire world entered the river of time, flowing upstream, returning to the past. In the repeated chaos and reverse flow, the small world completely separated from the large world, its whereabouts unknown. It was at that time that I truly left the small world and regained my freedom.
Disrupting time, flowing upstream in the river of time to return to the past. These events sounded so incredible. Lin Moyu thought of the several times he went outside the small world, seeing with his own eyes how the small world would appear and disappear. It turns out it was because the time and space of the small world became chaotic. It seemed to disappear, but in fact, during that time it had returned to the past, where many things happened. No wonder there were relics in the large world that seemed to be from Shinxiata. Turns out they were really left by Meng Anwen. The small world had once been to the past of the large world. The time in the small world had been artificially accelerated, instantly passing through millions of years. But no matter what, Lin Moyu got some good news. Meng Anwen was still alive. He had successfully raised his realm and survived. Since Meng Anwen was still alive, were the others also still alive? All of this was the work of the green-robed old man. The green-robed old man's abilities far exceeded what Lin Moyu had imagined. Exploring the past and future of the River of Time was something Lin Moyu had thought about, but in the hands of the green-robed old man, it could be achieved so easily.
But why did he do this?
Lin Moyu asked, and Antares said,
He should be looking for someone, but he didn't say specifically who. Also, the dragon race in the small world actually came from several dragon race members in the large world. During the process of chaotic time and space, they happened to encounter it. A few fellows thought there was some extraordinary treasure in the small world, so they wanted to occupy it. They transformed their treasures into continents, bringing their bloodlines, and entered the small world. The demon race was in a similar situation. They all thought there was some treasure in the small world.
Lin Moyu pondered.
This explanation seems a bit far-fetched.
And Antares said,
If you want to understand more clearly, you'll have to ask that guy. I suspect everything is his doing behind the scenes.
Lin Moyu had the same feeling. It seemed that all sorts of things were related to the green-robed old man behind the scenes. There aren't so many coincidences in the world. The small world concentrated too many incredible coincidences, which itself was something that shouldn't have happened, showing strong intentionality. Lin Moyu roughly understood that all of the green-robed old man's arrangements were actually for him.
Do I have something special? Why make arrangements targeting me? Even if I'm the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell, it doesn't need to be like this. The Lord of Hell is probably just an ant to him. What exactly is this for? What is he plotting?
Lin Moyu had countless doubts in his heart. He was sure the green-robed old man must be plotting something, but he couldn't figure out what. Mainly because his realm wasn't high enough, there were many things he couldn't understand. Perhaps only by returning to the past could he know everything. For things he couldn't figure out, Lin Moyu didn't want to waste energy. Instead, he asked,
So you're lying low in the Eastern Spirit Empire now, just to gain some benefits during the great changes in heaven and earth, right?
and Terry's gritted his teeth.
That's right. If I can take that step during the great changes in heaven and earth, then I can go back for revenge. Those guys, they'll all pay the price.
Chapter 35-33. Just listen to me. Lin Moyu chuckled.
Well, I'm going to have to disappoint you. Your idea is probably wrong. Even if it's not entirely wrong, it's unlikely to help you achieve your dream.
And Terry said in a low voice.
What's your view?
He knew Lin Moyu was very clever, at least smarter than himself, so he was willing to accept what Lin Moyu said. But after all, the three ancestors and the Beast Emperor were doing it this way, and he was following suit, so it should be correct, right? Even if he couldn't gain the greatest benefits during the great changes in heaven and earth, at least there would be some benefits, right? Lin Moyu said.
First, your territory is not as good as the three ancestors or the Beast Emperors, let alone the King of the Boundary Seas. The reason they can do this is because their territories are large enough, and they can gain quite a few benefits. But with just your little territory, relying on just the Eastern Spirit Empire, you might not even get a taste of the soup. And it's not just your approach. I think what the three ancestors and others are doing is also wrong.
And Terry's asked.
Then what do you think should be done? I'm not sure if my way is completely correct either, but I think you can take a two-pronged approach. One is to expand your territory, and two, the time isn't right yet. When the time comes, just follow my lead.
And Terry said.
Where is there territory for me to expand now? I don't want to clash with the three ancestors and others at the moment.
Lin Moyu said.
You know the Withering and Flourishing Elder, right? That guy was driven away by me. The territories of the former Netherworld race and the 100 Herbs Alliance are now mine. I'll give them to you.
And Terry's widened his eyes, hardly believing it.
You drove away the Withering and Flourishing Elder?
Lin Moyu made an sound as if it was a matter of course.
Yes, is there a problem?
And Terry's took a deep breath.
No problem, but that's your territory. I can't take it.
Lin Moyu shook his head slightly.
I've said before, this method of occupying territory is probably wrong 9 times out of 10. I'm occupying the territory just as an extra insurance. Whether I have it or not doesn't make much difference. Anyway, listen to me. Take this territory. Whether it's useful or not, occupy it first. As for the second method, just follow my lead when the time comes.
And Terry's was clearly moved by Lin Moyu's words. Thinking back, Lin Moyu's judgments had basically never been wrong. Moreover, Lin Moyu's arrangement was almost foolproof. It was always a good thing for him to occupy more territory. Lin Moyu suddenly had a thought, his expression changing slightly.
That guy has finally come looking for trouble.
The Legion commander stationed in the Undead Empire sent a message that someone had entered the territory of the Undead Empire, and quite a few of them at that. And Terry's asked.
Which guy?
Lin Moyu said.
A fellow called Yin Shun. He's like the three ancestors, having entered the origin continent. He's been hiding in the shadows for many years. Now that the great changes in heaven and earth are about to come, he's finally making his move. The withering and flourishing elder somehow contacted him. He knows that I've occupied part of the western continent's territory, and now he's gone there to cause trouble for me.
Antares said.
So what do you plan to do?
Lin Moyu said.
For this kind of person, just driving him away isn't enough. We need to make him leave the origin continent completely.
Antares said.
Then just kill him.
Lin Moyu didn't mince words.
That territory is yours now, you call the shots. But I'm too slow. Can you take me there? Get on.
Antares didn't waste words, letting Lin Moyu jump onto his back. With a dragon roar, Antares took off with a boom, soaring straight into the sky, plunging into the clouds, flying towards the western continent. Antares' speed was astonishingly fast. In the blink of an eye, they had already flown out of the eastern continent. The ever-present dark clouds above the boundary sea had already appeared in view. Antares directly crashed into the cloud layer, traveling amidst flashes of lightning and rolls of thunder. Countless bolts of lightning fell on him, but couldn't hinder him in the slightest. His speed kept increasing. At this rate, it wouldn't take long to reach the western continent. This was the speed of a great Tao realm being indeed worlds apart from the Tao Venerable realm. Antares said,
The current origin continent is too small. I remember before, flying from one continent to another would take at least a whole day, not like now, where it takes just a moment.
Lin Moyu asked.
Was the former origin continent very large?
In his view, the current origin continent was already not small. One continent probably had over 100 million square kilometers. The boundary sea was even more terrifyingly large, but in Antares' words, it was so small. Antares said,
Large, much larger than now. After the origin catastrophe, the origin continent shrank many times over. But I believe during the great changes in heaven and earth, the origin continent will return to its original state. At that time, with vast skies and lands, everything will be different. In the past, if a Tao Venerable wanted to go from one continent to another, relying solely on flying, they couldn't cross over in a few lifetimes. Moreover, there were numerous dangers above the boundary sea. Many Tao Venerables might not have left their home continent in their entire lives.
Lin Moyu's gaze carried contemplation as he asked,
Do you know about the great whirlpools in the center of the boundary sea? Did they appear before the origin catastrophe or after?
Antares said,
There were no whirlpools before. In those days, there were no dark clouds in the sky above the boundary sea either. The boundary sea then, although more dangerous than now, was more beautiful. At that time, there were countless divine islands in the boundary sea. Many great Tao realm beings would find a small island in the boundary sea to establish their own Tao field, then spread their teachings and develop their sex power.
Lin Moyu understood that doing so was actually for the sake of fortune. Even at the great Tao realm, one couldn't escape the study of fortune. The stronger the fortune, the more benefits for the cultivator. Hearing Antares' answer, Lin Moyu had his own guess about the whirlpools in the boundary sea. Based on his observations of the great whirlpools, he felt that the great whirlpools should be related to the sealing formation at the bottom of the sea. So, if he wanted to go to the sealing formation at the bottom of the sea, perhaps he could enter through the whirlpools. But before that, he still needed to go to one place, and that was the origin ancestral land. The green-robed old man had once said that the origin ancestral land was very important and must be visited. But the origin ancestral land could only be entered at the Tao Venerable realm. Once beyond the Tao Venerable realm, one would be refused entry. If he went to the sealing formation at the bottom of the sea first, with so many otherworldly celestial beings, each one a living great Tao reward, he feared his cultivation level would be hard to control. Lin Moyu had thought that with the help of these living great Tao rewards, he might be able to break through the Tao Venerable realm in one go and directly enter the great Tao realm. So before going to the sealing formation at the bottom of the sea, it would be best to visit the origin ancestral land first. But the appearance of the origin ancestral land wasn't fixed. It might appear tomorrow or it might take many years. He wasn't sure if he could wait. What if the great changes in heaven and earth happened and the origin ancestral land still hadn't appeared? Thinking of this, he could only take it one step at a time. Lin Moyu asked,
Olden, do you know about the Origin Ancestral Land?
and Terry's nodded.
Of course I know. It appears once every so often, and each time it appears, it selects a batch of Dao Venerables to enter. But I've never been in, so I don't know what it's like inside.
Lin Moyu said,
I need to go in once. I don't know when it will appear. It would be best if I could go before the great changes in heaven and earth.
and Terry's thought for a moment.
I remember the king of the Boundary Sea has a calculation treasure. We could use it to calculate. Although it might not be accurate, we could get a rough time.